Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone.
Wait,
Hello. So good to see you. I am Tristan Miller with the Ash Son Show. We're in our third year volunteering to make going electric fun and more affordable and kind of streamline the process. And we also offer one-to-one consults to meet with you if you have more questions after the show. So Wayne will be putting our email in the chat and ways to contact us. And if you ever want to be on the show with your case study, whether you've started or you're partway there or you're already done, please let us know because we want to help people electrify. So we're going to get started soon because we have a lot to cover. And you can see Christina is here with us today to share her case study. Wave, Christina, yay! Where she electrified on 60 amps. Can you believe it? It's incredible. And while we're in the chat, please introduce where you're from. And if you want to start with any questions, we can start to answer them in the chat while we're running through the case study.
hey everybody. Um, okay, so tonight we're gonna do one of our lots of fun Ask Sean shows. But if it goes a little fast for you, online on our website for free, paid for by Menlo Spark, a nonprofit that's in the Bay Area that helped do a lot of the Bay Area gas bans and gas phase out ordinances. So they hired us to do 6 different guides to electrifying commercial buildings and residential buildings and apartment complexes. And this is the one that's on how to do retrofitting homes. There's a lot of information there that you're welcome to. But I like to do story time. Can you guys see my screen, by the way? Just checking in.
Yep.
All right, everything's good. Let me pour myself a glass of water. And, oh, by the way, I have this mug. It's from SoCal Edison's Live Better Electrically campaign from the 1960s. So you can see its logo. And then that's like their earlier 1950s All Electric Award. And then they adopted the whole national one there, which is this like Live Better Electrically Award. There you go. This is I found it on eBay like for 10 bucks. It's amazing. Okay.
I want one.
So I do too. I want more. Sadly, I
They
just
may
have
all
that
need
one.
one as well. They all may need this coffee cup so they remember.
Oh, and Sean, I just thank you. Yeah, must have that mug. We'll get into do it yourself and plug in solar. We just published a blog on it on our website that has a lot of technical information there. So I just love this. Okay, so New York City has got a lot of fun stories. There's the 600 cabs that were EVs. It's a big deal. They were going to an ice rink to change out the battery real fast, switching a new one. In 1909, we had probably the second real solar array. It was in New York City. Sometimes this photo is doctored to make it look like the first one that was in 1884 or so, where there is no photo of it. But this is the second one, 1909, New York City's rooftop. It's Mr. Cove and his Sun Electric generators. And then on the right-hand side, I love this. Con Edison, also in New York City, advertising then that no house is too old to be electrified back in 1916. And this is mostly around gas lighting. A terribly dangerous device, and they were showing, look, this is what electrical light switches used to look like. And they're in there basically replumbing, well, getting rid of the gas plumbing and putting in electricity. This is because gaslighting was contributing to so many fires, including just an epic fire that happened in Berkeley. So in 1923, you can see fire sweeps Berkeley, 50 blocks razed, 6,000 left homeless. It was enormous. And it didn't hit the downtown because the fire changed just at the right moment. But keep in mind, this is just after the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, in which at least half of the fires, according to the governor's report in 2001, half the fires are caused by gas lighting primarily. People are really excited about gas lighting. So running electricity is the much safer alternative. Well, what happened was that because of gas contribution to this fire, and it was also wood shingles, and it was also non-stucco siding, the California style of like shingles that are ceramic or cement and having cement siding. That's all about fire protection. So anyway, here you have it. This is a 30 amp transfer switch. After this fire, people started building 30 amp houses. The insurance companies wouldn't insure a house that had gas. There wasn't actually a gas ban, but you can find all these 30 amp houses still to this day in Berkeley, built from that, like the first 10 years or so afterwards, as people are transitioning away from gas lighting. No more gas lighting after in Berkeley, essentially after that fire, one way or another. And people are using 30 amp transfer switches because they're running all electric homes, and they just have like 30 amps for these set of loads, or have a couple of transfer switches and have a 30 amp service to the house, but be able to serve maybe 90 amps of loads. So this idea of trying to explain to the public about how much power you have allocated, what's your watt diet, how do you do power efficient design? So Westinghouse hired, you saw Westinghouse's on this piece of equipment here, Westinghouse safety switch, right? Big deal. They're an enormous company at the time, setting up grids all over the world, and they're trying to encourage all electric homes. So here they hired Disney to show how with a 2400 watt circuit in your kitchen, you could add up a bunch of different appliances, the toaster, I think this is a radio, and then a coffee pot, an iron, and a refrigerator. Now, you plug those in and you get 1100, 1950, oh no, 3100 watts once you plug in the toaster. And then this cute little thing happens, it's a cartoon, it's Disney style, and you see, four appliances there. They're all so happy, but the fifth toaster jumps in and they all smash together. The toast goes pop, the circuit goes out. And that's like a 20-minute long video that you can find on our website on the Watt Diet page. So today we have smart transfer switches, basically. There's smart panels. If you're looking at the span panel on the left, that can go as small as a 50 amp service into the house, and then 50 amps can get divided up among about 150 amps to 200 amps of stuff. And then you have on the right-hand side Lumen, which supports 30 amp services, and they can do about 90 amps to 150 amps of stuff that you can plug in. That's because you very rarely use all your things at the same time. It's so rare that even looking at a SMUD, all of the all-electric homes in SMUD, most of which are historically electric with electric resistance, in those homes, looking at them, there's basically a 10% increase between having a gas electric hybrid home and having an all electric home. And actually, Christina Pappas, we got to see her power consumption. She's going to show her slides tonight. And she's at 20 amps for her house. Not to like, surprise anyone, but it's just how it is. All electric homes don't necessarily use that much power, particularly as she did, doing an excellent job of doing all electric power efficient design. Okay, so smart panels can give you some cheat room. This is an example. We got a Department of Energy Easy Prize for it under the Biden administration, as you can imagine. And this is Lonnie Grafman, local professor up here. He's taught so many of my staff, one of my good friends from college. So he was about to have a baby. We're like, let's compete with your house and your ADU. So you have here a double wide trailer from, I think, 1973. And then the old garage attached next to it. Lonnie is a builder, travels the world helping out orphanages and such, doing solar installations, bringing kids along with them from college and, do-goodering it up, learning how to do hands-on stuff. So at the lower left-hand side, this is the constellation of appliances that we put together to do both houses on 100 amps. So we have a 700 square foot garage conversion to a very nice little one-bedroom house. We have countertop cooking circuits. There's already two 20 amp circuits there, so we just use those for an oven and two induction burners, one that's two burners and one that's one burner. Then we have a no electric resistance, so it's about 1400 watts heat pump for the house. It's wall mounted. Then this is A.O. Smith's 900 watt total electric water heater. It's hybrid, so it's a 900 electric resistance element, but that's less than the 4,500 watts that they used to have. That's 5 times as much as 900 watts, right? So now they're doing all the same work, but with 900 watts with their 120 volt, plug it in anywhere, heat pump water heater. This is GE's, but LG is excellent, Samsung is excellent. Their combined washer dryer. We were doing like an American contest. We're gonna get General Electric, which is ironic because actually GE is owned by a Chinese company called Haier, but what were we gonna do, you know? So here we go. Then on the house, we have Ream's heat pump water heater. We have Mr. Cool, which is a really interesting company. It's the only one that has this technology available in the United States, which is pre-charged refrigerant lines. So we were able to do a ducted system without an HVAC contractor because other than it's physically doing the difficult work of attaching it to the underside of this double wide trailer, they have ductwork underneath it. Everything was something you could do yourself, with normal tools. You had to be strong, you had to know what you're doing, but the refrigerant lines come already charged and you just screw them on and then that's the end of that. You just had to do a good job of, using wrenches and such. Then there's the induction stove and electric resistance dryer. Now, this is a funny story of a mistake we made. I'm trying to be honest about. This is a mistake. This neocharge transfer switch shouldn't be between the induction stove and the dryer because not the induction part, but the electric resistance elements in this oven. Now that they're getting big ovens, like 5 and 6 cubic foot ovens, it has up to 3,600 watts that'll turn on in the oven. And the electric resistance dryer over there is using up to, I think it is like 6,000 watts, 7,000 watts, something like that. And you combine the two of them together, and you have made it so that one of them has to switch off in order to for both of them to sit on what is called a 40 amp, 240 volt switch. What is that, people? How many watts is that total? 40 amps at 240 volt? Anyway, you add up, one of them has to switch off. If we had put that same transfer switch between the electric resistant stove or the dryer and the Mr. Cool, the Mr. Cool is at peak a 20 amp load out of the 40 amps that you're allowed to use on a 50 amp circuit. So pretty sure that one or the other, the dryer or the stove, would be better paired with the Mr. Cool because at its peak, it uses less than either the dryer at its peak or the stove at its peak. We got the wrong peak appliance. So it's annoying. It turns off the dryer. And, so this is not a smart panel situation, which we could have used and had this kind of solved basically, but because we could have automatically switched oh no, we didn't want to balance the dryer and the stove. But instead we physically wired things to one spot and we have a neocharge there, so kind of stuck with the choice we made until we replaced the dryer or the stove, and both of those could happen as a technical solution. We got lower power devices. Now, Abide Hagigi is a wonderful architect, and she did a small house, 578 square feet. It's in an old oil derrick workers place down in the LA basin. This is cute, before and after. Air conditioner, gas wall furnace, using then also the same heat pump that we used in Lonnie's house in the last slide here, the Evoca. It's good for some retrofit situations. It's the high-end one. It's the nicest of them. So she was just putting one in for the whole house, so she got a nice one. Then this is the old gas water heater. This is the new heat pump water heater. Outside, just fine for that climate. Then this is something she did that was not power efficient, but she liked it more, which is she has a separate induction countertop from her oven. And that means that both of them their power has to be counted, as opposed to if she'd put in a slide-in combined induction countertop and oven, the two of them combined would have shared one circuit, and it would show up as slightly less power on the main panel's calculations. Okay, but it was just fine, because at the end of the day, she only had 60 out of her 100 amps available there that got counted up, so she still had plenty of capacity for this little luxury. In case you're wondering about induction, I just want to let you know it's for everybody, On the left-hand side, if you want it to look like an antique. In the middle, if you want it to look like sort of fancy modern, that's the LG. In the left hand, it's a big chill, but there's other historical looking ones. On the upper right-hand corner, that's what I cook with. I've raised a few kids this way, myself. Cook food for my girlfriend now. And then that's just two burners plugged in anywhere. That was like what we had in Lonnie's house. And then on the lower right-hand side, this like a copper stove which has a battery in it. This is non-battery. This is the Summit stove. It's not quite out on the market yet, but it's the $1,400 to $1,800 option, and it offers 1,800 watts total, whereas the copper stove offers 9,600 watts because it has a battery in it. Both of them are using about the same amount of power out of the wall. So copper is $6,000. It's a very nice stove. It's a luxury stove. It provides superior power for sure. And then the Summit stove is what is being partnered up with the Housing Authority of New York City. You know, because they have 20-inch stoves, 24-inch stoves. Copper doesn't provide those, at least not yet. And they have 30-inch stoves, which copper also provides. Just making sure everyone knows copper is a totally legit option. They've been out for years now. I got to pilot the first 36 in a local tribal nation. People are very happy with them. But Summit is like the more bargain option. So it's for whatever your price point is my point. And it's for any size of house is also relevant to you. And if you want to do a rapid retrofit, because if you're cooking on gas, it's the equivalent of the amount of NOx, amount of the smog that is if you had four cars, mufflers in your house while they were idling. Just cold idle, I mean, not cold, not the cold start, just idling. You know, the most fuel efficient way of doing it. It's because they have catalytic converters in them, but it's still that much car's worth of smog NOx, or it's equivalent to having someone smoking, chain smoking in the living room. And then last part was she added was this 120 volt combo washer dryer. That's for power efficiency. And she added a dishwasher. Note that a dishwasher has an electric resistance heating element in it. Oops, water time. So they take a little bit of extra power. Ooh, hey. So now we're at Christina. Christina, are you ready to present your slides? I'll just push them forward for you.
I am ready, but first I want to say I see your coffee mug and I want to raise you an electric, what is it called? A gold medallion home from the 1960s.
Very nicely done.
Very
Okay.
cool. Very cool.
Well,
We love it.
okay, if we're gonna go there, just because this is, we're those kind of people. Now I have here, I'm gonna raise you a SoCal Edison all electric. This is a coffee, it's sorry, an ashtray, but it's like super nice Art Deco kind of here with three sides to it and both logos. Okay then. Okay then.
Okay, you win.
Well, I mean, it is my job to win, and I have more. Okay. Oh, and I loved your medallion. Check out this one. It's mint. I got it right out of the bag from like the 1960s or so. It's really shiny and heavy and sharp, and it's got like all the little things, and it's never been used. It's yeah, eBay, man, what a bunch of fun
eBay.
that is.
Where did you get yours, Christina?
eBay.
Yep,
I got it as a gift for myself after we went electric.
you
Good
deserve it.
job.
Yay!
Give yourself a party. Well, here, let
Exactly.
me get out of the way and you can show off your fantastic work. Tell us the story.
Yes. All right. Well, first of all, I want to give you a quick 5 seconds on my background. I earned a green MBA in 2008. And in the last 15 years or so, I've been on the board of the San Francisco League of Conservation Voters. And I was president for about 6 years until last year. And I say all that because I may be a little more nerdy than your average homeowner about things like sustainability and staying on top of what's happening, new technologies that are happening, and new developments, I guess. So the picture on the left is our house, and this is we think it was built in 1881. We're not entirely sure, but that's when the water connection records happen. My husband and I live on the top floor, and it's 3 units. And just for context, our kitchen and our water heater are on the top floor in the back to the right, and the electrical panel is in the bottom, so you can't see it, in the front to the left. So it's pretty much as far apart in the house as it could be. We have 100 amps coming into the building. Each unit has about 60 amps. The electrical wires in the neighborhood are buried, which is beautiful, but it also makes it more expensive and more difficult to do any service upgrades. And I've also been told that where our panel is would be difficult to do anything, because if we tried to make a change, PG&E would say, "Oh no, you have to." I don't know what they would say, but you can't do it. Life before electrification was miserable. I can't emphasize enough how cold we were. I've lived here for 30 years, and over 30 years, the first 29 years, I think I spent every November through February wearing my long down puffy jacket and hats and gloves. We had a gas wall heater, but it's in the bedroom where we didn't need it. We used space heaters, in the room that we were in, with a collection of space heaters that we were not comfortable using. If we used two in two separate rooms, we often blew the circuit. Kitchen, sorry, looking at my notes. The kitchen was always the warmest room in the house, which in the wintertime was good, except that once we learned how it was poisoning us, it wasn't so good. It was also miserable in the summer because it was too hot. And it turns out there's 7 pilot lights that were always on, because this is an old-fashioned 1953 stove. And we later found out that those gas pilot lights were responsible for about 75% of our gas use. So turning those off was pretty amazing. And our power bills ranged, this is gas plus electric, in 2022-23. They ranged between like 80 and 120 a month. I'm sure they'd be just out of control now.
Do you want to show your bills there, or do you want to?
No, I'll just, I wanted to give a sort of before
Oh,
and
sorry.
after. The other 2 pictures on this are our heat pump hot water heater, which was actually the last piece of the puzzle. We didn't really have any problems with our old one, but it was 14 years old. It was the last gas appliance in the house, and so when we replaced it, we unlocked new incentives. And I'll talk more about that later on. Go ahead, Sean. This is basically all the things we did. So back in 22, I think we decided we couldn't take it anywhere. We're going to put heat pumps, mini splits in our house, since we didn't have ductwork, and it would be impossible to put ductwork in. When we found out that heat pumps, mini splits were an option, we said, this is great. And then about that time, we thought, well, as long as we're using heat pumps, now it makes sense for us to have solar. And so January and February 23 were a scramble to get in under the NEM2 before the rules changed. And I basically made learning about solar and heat pumps my full-time job for a couple of months. So you've got a picture of our solar and one of our mini splits. We have 3, and our outdoor unit. In January 25, I started working with Quit Carbon. And I wish that I had started working with them a lot sooner, because it would have saved me a lot of heartache. And they turned me on to so many incentives that I didn't know were out there and I would never have found on my own. So for example, the bottom right-hand corner is our copper stove, which is also behind me. And I'd had my eye on it for a while. It was the only induction stove I'd found out about that could plug into 120 volts into our old wiring. And Quit Carbon let me know that copper was eligible for an extra incentive through the California Energy Smart Homes program. And so that helped us pull the trigger and feel better about it, because we could recoup our money from that. Let me see what else. Quick Carbon also alerted me to the Department of the Environment in San Francisco. They have a climate hub equity program, climate hub equity heat pump hot water upgrade program. And we qualified. And so that was about a $15,000 um, hot water heater that we didn't have to pay for. And it was a challenge because, as you can see behind me, our water heater is in that white closet. And it's a very small space and it's right in our living space. And so we couldn't have anything that made noise. We couldn't have anything that blew cold air into the room. And it was too small for a general heat pump hot water heater. But the Department of the Environment let us know about a new split heat pump hot water heater that was available, where the heat pump part goes on the roof and the tank goes in the water heater closet, and it's just been incredible. So the last thing on there is the electric dryer, and that's actually a dryer we've had for about 10 years. It's an electric resistance dryer. It's 240 volts. I didn't need to upgrade that when we renovate our kitchen. We are going to invest in an all-in-one, partly for the space savings and partly so that we can reclaim one of our circuits, or actually two circuits, because we'll get the washer circuit off and the dryer circuit will go down to one. So we spent, oops, sorry, go back one.
Oh, pardon me.
I actually think our savings was a little better than this. We spent about $47,000 in total for all of these things. And we got almost $35,000 back. And that was about $10,000 in tax credits, because solar was $6,000, but we also got credits for the stove and the mini splits. And then we got the $8,000 from the the California Energy Smart Homes program. And so I got us about $10,000 of credits back, but working with Quick Carbon, it turned us on to about $25,000 worth of incentives. So I totally recommend working with them because they unlocked so many things and let us know about so much that was out there.
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
Christina, there's a question here from John Eldon. And
yes.
he said, he asked, how many amps does your stove pull? I assume that it requires a 20 amp circuit rather than a 15 amp circuit. And I think that your stove pulls 1200 watts and can sit on a 15 amp circuit, but do you know, does it need to sit on a 20 amp circuit?
They recommend that it has its own dedicated 15 amp circuit. But I will tell you, because my house is old and we have not rewired things in the kitchen, that the stove shares a circuit with the washing machine, the dishwasher, the fan over the stove, and all the plugs on that wall, which includes the Instapot and our tea kettle and a couple other things, as well as like the lights out of the washer dryer. And yet, there are
Well
many
done.
times I kept harassing Quick Carbon because I'm like, can I talk to somebody? I think I'm coming
There's
too
this
close.
you saw a Disney movie? I mean, you really are just like approaching the very edge of what you can do. Well,
I think so, but now your colleague tells me that I'm only using 20 amps. So,
well, that
um,
is a very good point. Yeah, to
and
show that
and
after
just the
this one
amazing,
here,
yeah,
this
just
year.
I also wanted to add about copper is that because it uses the battery and then it charges in the day. And I've asked them to make my charging window from like 12 to 5, I think, because even in the winter, that's the peak of our solar production. So you hear it kind of hum, but the battery works in such a way that if something else is on that circuit, like if I'm washing clothes, the stove will sense that it will stop charging. And so it's
Mm,
never drawing power at the time anything else is. And I haven't had any problems with anything.
excellent.
Sorry,
So
go
it
ahead
has
and,
has some smart circuitry there. That's
yeah.
awesome. Are there any questions that people have for Christina about what you're seeing here? You're welcome to take yourself off mute if you want.
Or if Quick Carbon wants to, Christina, if you
Yeah,
want to share
quick shout
anything
out to
about
Quick Carbon too.
shout out to Quick Carbon if you guys want to share anything else, please open up your mics. It's a great time.
Quick
Gosh,
Carbon might actually know
it
these
took
answers to some of these questions more than me.
yeah, Christina, can you guys hear me? This
Yeah,
is
hi
Ted Tillis
Ted.
from Quick Carbon. Yeah,
Hey.
Hi, Ted.
It's 2026 and it took me like 2 minutes to figure out how to unmute myself. Yeah, some really good questions. So the one about battery life. I don't know if they predict a battery life, but one thing that we found is that batteries last longer than anyone ever feared that they were going to run out. Like for EVs and other appliances that have had batteries for a long time, the batteries just, especially, and copper is so smart about how they charge and discharge that battery life is not going to be. I don't think it should be a major concern. It's a great product, and it's a great product. It's a great solution, and it just makes so much that like Christina having an amazing stove in her kitchen possible. And each of her neighbors could have one as well, which is also amazing because that's a 100 amp home. We talk about Christina's house being 60 amp. It's just it's astounding because it's really in a sense, and I live in a similar home. Um, it's really a 30, 33, 35 amp allocation for Christina's house. So she's achieving a lot with not very much.
And we've been delighted recently to see other stove innovators like Summit and others come to market with all increasing variety of plug-in stoves and cooktops, and soon other things. We'll hear more, I think, later, maybe about. Is that as much as we'll hear about plug-in solar?
Oh
It's
no,
just
well, we can talk
amazing.
about that too.
Right.
Patricia Webb here, she commented, "I'm waiting for my Electra to arrive next month."
Oh,
So
nice.
Electra is a countertop only, is my understanding, right? It's not a oven included, but it's a countertop
No,
battery.
that's the Impulse. The Impulse is the
Oh,
countertop. The Electra's kind of looks like the copper, but it looks different too. It's a range. It's great.
that's
That's
awesome.
exciting.
Patricia, how much did you spend on your Electra?
So it's only 4,000 compared to the 6,000 for
Hey.
copper, but I really wanted a sea salt copper, and they're not making anymore. So it's like, okay, but I wish I decided in December and not in February.
Yes,
Well,
you and I both.
the
Well, I want
wonderful
you to
thing that
send
we
us
have
photos.
choices. That's just the amazing thing is we have choices now. There's an actual market. We can each like match our aesthetic. That was my point that I made on the slide a few ones previous. It's like, and copper is a pioneer. Awesome stuff. I totally believe in them. And there's choices now.
Yeah, and Patricia, if you start to electrify other things, you could maybe take advantage of that California Home Energy Program. You never know, but you might have already done things.
Now,
The stove will be my last electrification. I've done everything else.
That's amazing. Well, we want to do your story someday.
Okay.
well,
You heard it here.
Christina, you did this analysis here on your utility bills. Could you showcase what you found?
Yeah, so the yellow line at the top is our gas use. So you can see it's pretty steady. The spikes are really just what has to do with PG&E's billing, but then it really plunged from August to September because we got the copper stove in August, and as I said, the 7 pilot lights went away, and then the rest of it basically went away in November when we got the heat pump hot water here. The imported electricity is the blue line, and we got the heat pumps in the orange arrow there, and then we got solar in the yellow area. I think what's interesting to me for that is that you can see spikes in January, February every year. So 23, 24, 25, and much more in 26. The interesting thing to me about that is that we were using space heaters and we were really miserable, and we were only using space heaters in the room that we were in at any given time. And yet that spike is really not much less than the spike the following year when we had the heat pump that basically made the whole house so comfortable. Like we could
Mm.
forget what it was like outside. And so it just shows you how much more efficient it is and what a better quality of life we got.
It
Um,
should more or less the same wattage produce about 3 or even 4 times as much heat in your house. So similar amount of wattage, maybe just a little bit more, but your whole house is warm.
yeah,
It's yeah, the math works there.
yeah. And I think the first year we were still getting used to the idea of, heat pumps are more efficient if you turn them on and just leave them. And so that took some getting used to because I grew up learning to turn it down whenever we left the house.
Well, okay, so
Um,
here's the truth is
okay.
that in Japan, the way that they operate them, they consider the most efficient, which is that they have sensors that monitor where you are in a room. They direct you with the heat, and people generally turn them off when they leave the room. And then they turn on and they kind of blast you with heat. That's how they consider it the most efficient, and they're students of that. The Japanese are like the premier heat pump designers in our world, like up there with Italy, but better. So that is probably the most efficient. However, it would be like, for instance, it'd be more efficient if people turn their heat pumps down after they went to sleep at night, turn it down to 62, turn it up to 70 when you get up in the morning, as opposed to leaving it on all night. I was asking one of my favorite energy gurus, Greg Fotenhauer, who does a humongous amount of study of the exact right way to run stuff. And so I agree. Conventional wisdom has been just to sort of leave it on low and slow and just let it go. That's a good way. Perhaps the best way is to ramp it up and down. Just say no, so you might be able to return to your old habits.
One thing
I think
that's interesting, Sean. One thing I love about Christina's house is that um, by taking away gas, she has just increased comfort so greatly, and she's really, I mean, Christina, do you find that to any extent that you're making trade-offs for your living?
my life is actually, that was the last thing I was going to get to. Just after putting out the red line of the solar spikes, we're obviously generating a lot more than we use in the summer months. But I just wanted to end by saying what life is like now is so comfortable. I can't even tell you what a difference it has made for us. And the induction and the electric oven are both so precise, and it's just amazing. They're easy to clean. There's no sort of gas residue that we have to clean in the kitchen. Our hot water, because we had an on-demand hot water heater before, and it took a while to heat up when you ran the water. And now we have hot water within seconds of turning it on. And our power bills are like $15 to $20 a month. It's pretty, I think that's going to go up a bit because PGD is changing the rules about how much people who have solar have to pay, but still it's going to be low.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Like,
I
woo, woo.
Yay!
I want to just speak out for variable speed heat pumps. The comfort level you get with the variable speed heat pumps is really amazing. If you turn on a furnace, a gas furnace, it's going to blow hot air out at you, and may, blow right on you. And same thing with a regular air conditioning. It might blow cold air on you. But with a variable speed heat pump, the air coming out, it slows down depending on, the volumes decreases depending on how much difference you have in your desired temperature and what the air actually is. And I've been in houses that have these variable speed heat pumps. You can't even hear them on, and yet it's still cooling or heating the
Warm.
home.
It's such like yeah, it's so evenly the temperature. It's lovely.
And you can't hear it. I mean, it's amazing. So if you had a choice, I would definitely recommend going with a variable speed heat pump.
One last thing I wanted to add
Yeah.
about the heat pump. Obviously, with the air conditioning aspect of them has been very, very important as we have more and more heat waves in San Francisco. But because we have, I think, 12-foot ceilings or 10-foot ceilings, very, very tall ceilings, the air conditioning hits us very well. But in the wintertime, it's hard to get heat down to where we actually are. So we end up using some of our old space heaters, but not on the heat setting, just on air to mix the air around in there and make sure it's like getting moved around.
Why
Fans.
would a ceiling fan work for that to redistribute the elevation of?
It probably would if I didn't have plaster and lath ceilings that can't take the weight of a ceiling fan.
Okay. Huh.
There was
Reality.
Sean, somebody, Edward from Go Electric Colorado wanted to know what was the wall-mounted heat pump that you showed, that Sean
Oh,
showed. And I was trying to go through the PowerPoint. Not
this
sure
looks like
which one.
this is the Mitsubishi.
It might
No,
be.
Mitsubishi is like
it was in
no?
the ADU of your friend's place.
Oh,
We can show
here,
that again. And we're going to be sending the PowerPoint to everybody who RSVP'd as
yeah,
well.
and the whole point of this is to answer people's questions. So this is cool. A lot of different systems here. So once again, this is it. And it is made by Efoca, Ephoca. Efoca is how you say it in Italian. In Italy, they're called Innova because there's a company in the United States similarly named, like Innovair, something like that. So they call themselves Efoca here, or Efoca. And it is the highest quality of all of the form factors. There's other manufacturers that make a product that look like this, but they don't get tested to American standards. And so they advertise their efficiencies at inflated rates. There's all the competitors. This is really the only one that I recommend to my clients are affordable housing developers. So, 60 to hundreds of apartments. And it actually has to be a strong recommendation for a product that is what it says it is and can get rebates on it, that kind of thing. So this is that. This is the only manufacturer, Efoca, that I would recommend of this form factor. Other form factors, that's a different story. But it's nice. It does up to 15,000 BTUs of heating and cooling. It can do a small residence. Now, this Bryce Nesbitt, would you be willing to come off? Bryce, are you here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. I have to jump in just a moment, but
Okay, please
yeah, the
explain
question
what you
is,
did. Christina wanted to understand how you did it and explain what you found and your role in this.
okay. So how's the audio?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So we have two questions. You had the overall graph, which was the bill data showing how much PG&E was billing and how it changed over the years.
Right.
But there's a second important question, which is how close to maxing out your 60 amp service are you? And this is PG&E's data. PG&E will give you as an individual residential customer, not as multifamily, but as a residential customer, you can get your own 15-minute consumption for every 15 minutes for the last 2 years. And that's this graphed. And it shows essentially that you're nowhere close to maxing out your 60 amp service. And the important thing here is that short peaks don't matter, because what matters for electrical overloads is heat. If something gets too hot, a wire gets too hot, or a circuit breaker gets too hot, circuit breakers are designed to trip when they get too hot. But a short overload, like making a piece of toast, won't do that. A long overload, like charging an EV or running a heat pump or running a dishwasher with an internal heating element, that's what can trip breakers. And so this chart here has two versions. The yellow is when the solar came in. So I'm guessing that on February 1st of whatever that year is when you added the solar.
Now, can you tell us how many of her 60 amp service, the big wire that comes to her house, how much of her 60 amp service is her peak usage consuming?
Well, look at the tops of these spikes. You've clipped it in such a way that we're missing the scale there. So I
I
don't fully remember, but as I recall, it was less than a half of the service was the peak.
I think you said 20 amps in your email, like 20.75 is
Then it
what.
was 20.75 amps, and you could have
Yeah.
gone up to 60 amps, and not only that, but you could probably go to 80 or 100 amps for short periods of time without creating any sort of problem for the house. And that is not pushing things. That's just the way the code has always worked. Because in the old days, you had motors and things like that that would come on and use an incredible amount of power for a couple of seconds to get spinning. And so the whole system is designed to allow for that. Now, motors start slowly. So rather than hearing this big clunk as the dishwasher starts and it runs at 100 amps and then it settles down at 10 amps, you'll have an electronic control system that starts that motor slowly. Same with a new vacuum cleaner. You turn that on and you'll hear it go as it comes up to speed rather than just clunking on. Anyway,
And
so
Bryce,
small spikes don't matter. And in fact, I would say that looking at this, we can actually discount all of these tall spikes. And the
mhm.
actual number is closer to 10 amps. Yes, so you're only really using 10 of those 60 amps.
This is beautiful. So this is the result of having the products here. Like this doesn't have electric resistance. It's just a heat pump. The dryer, you said there's electric resistance. So that's going to be your biggest load. That's probably what you're seeing as the peak thing that's happening. It's stove. This is just using, I think, 1400 watts when it charges. And then the
Yeah.
ecological, this split system heat pump water heater with the compressor on the roof and then the water heater tank in the storage closet there in the kitchen. That I think is another 1400-watt device. These are just small loads. So
Not only that,
this
but
is
most of those loads that you're quoting are the nameplate load.
right.
That's the number that's on the outside and the number that you have to use when you do the load calculations. But when you actually measure them,
Hmm.
they tend to use a fraction of that. Somewhere between 50 and 80% of the nameplate is typical for what the actual peak from the actual appliance is.
Say that again. What? Really?
Everyone's putting
So,
safety margins in. Everywhere you go, safety margins and safety margins and safety margins. And so it's all, a stack of cards. Now, Bryce, you didn't explain that you're a professional electrician and you inspect apartment complexes, particularly with fire safety issues related to electrical wiring, right?
yeah,
So,
I'll inspect the entire apartment building. And then separately, now doing a startup company called EV Plug Box, which is doing electric vehicle charging specific to multifamily on existing electrical panels. And so we
Wow.
do what's called dynamic load management, where we actually measure the current building load. And if it's too high, the EVs all take a pause. It's okay.
hmm.
They'll catch up by the morning.
This is something like we're going
So
to be probably using, if not his, but certainly a product just like that on a 250 unit condo development. It's in Redwood Shores, like down in Redwood City. The whole condo development has to plan electrifying both their vehicles and their buildings, and they need some way of balancing EV charging with the building's electrification needs as well. And the point here on Christina's work is that, this is a three-story development that has 100 amps. If each of these floors does something roughly like what she did, that means that each individually is using 10 to 20 amps at peak, and combined won't be at the same day, at the same time, at the same moment. So, the whole building might be in that range of 20 amps at peak, maybe 30 amps, something like that. Bad day happens, it's Thanksgiving and everyone's cooking, etc. So, this people used to say a lot and still do if they're a little mendacious that electrification was going to crash the grid. It doesn't have to at all. I mean, if you do it wrong on purpose, kind of, but if you have modest amounts of power, then you have all these choices. Like, what about those smart panels I was showing you, right? You know, just if you want to wave a magic wand. I'm not saying I think that making power efficient appliances is safer and just better for the grid in general and for your own utility bills, etc. But I think the point
yeah,
of this little show here is that you have a lot of options to electrify and it doesn't have to impact the grid. It probably won't.
And we have two types of loads. We have loads that people demand work now. That includes your stove. You want to cook dinner, you want to cook it now. And then we have loads that can be deferred. And those are like water heaters, EV charging for sure, which can be deferred until 2 a.m. if you want. You can turn off the water heater for a couple of minutes and no one will notice if it's got any form of a tank. And
Yeah, load
by by
management is a
by
big solution. Yeah.
by understanding what's a dispatchable load and how dispatchable it is, you can get a long way. Yeah, we can fit electrification into any existing building. That's just never a problem. You just have to do it smart, and you have to know that the National Electric Code isn't yet your friend. It doesn't yet know about this.
Now, Peter Schultz Allen, you say, I converted my Berkeley bungalow to all electric. Now I'm finishing my ADU. I use Electrify my home. Now, do you have anything you wanted to add on, like, because we're having a little chat about power efficiency, and I know that they think about these things. I just actually taught Larry's class a couple days ago, and he's coming up. And so anyway, do you have anything you wanted to chip in? Oh, we can't hear you yet. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, great. Hi. Yeah, sorry, I got here a little bit late. I got caught up in something. So maybe this was already talked about,
No
but
worries.
one of the things that when I got the heat pump for the main house, and now which is the Mitsubishi, and it's a ducted system, I was frustrated to learn that there was no app to control it. It has a thermostat on the wall, and it's a decent programmable thermostat, but my washer and dryer have apps for them. My fridge has an app. My dishwasher has an app, but the thermostat doesn't have an app for it. I was pretty frustrated with that. And now I think there is a workaround, and maybe it would cost me a few $100, but that just seems like like one of the most important things
Yes.
that you'd want to have an app for. And so the quilt system does have that, and I'm very happy with that. So that is one thing that I
This is
also, yeah.
earlier I was telling the story about how in Japan, the most energy efficient way they decided to run heat pumps, evidence-based, is to either turn it on or off and have it more or less directed towards you with fans. And what I think you're seeing is the philosophy of Mitsubishi in the United States as like very much a different attitude about how do you get the most efficiency out of a system. Because you're
Mm,
right. They've also been very unfriendly to third-party like Nest and the rest of the different kinds of controllable smart
mm,
thermostats. None of them play friendly because it's
mm,
essentially one computer trying to control another computer. And
mm,
Mitsubishi's opinion is that only they get to control their computer. And so it's been free. I've actually had to get exemptions from the rebate programs very specifically because of this issue. If you like
mm,
get fine print exemptions of like, because I like to use ductless mini splits or other inverter internally computer controlled HVAC systems that once again, none of them want to play nice with third-party apps and third-party controllers and things. So go back to your story, but that I just want to let you know is
yeah.
everyone's problem, not just your own.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I was very happy with the quilt system that it has the app option.
Nice.
The other thing that I've been struggling a little bit with to figure out, and it's kind of related to the app issue for the main house, is that with the ducted system, and it's not a multi-zone, I guess it's just one outdoor, heat pump Mitsubishi, that the bedroom, when my partners here, it warms up. It's a small, very well insulated, because we wanted it to be quiet.
Yeah.
And so there's one vent in there, and basically the whole house is cooling down in order to keep the bedroom cold at night.
So this is another reason why the mini splits that are ductless are the big
Yeah,
thing in Japan. They really
right.
invented this form
So you have
factor.
zones. You can have different zones. Yeah.
Yeah, because ducted systems, what you need is like internal dampers in order to control the amount of airflow.
Yeah.
And that very problem of how ducted systems don't provide uniform comfort in the house is why a developer of homes bought Ifoca and said,
Mm,
I believe in this zone-based packaged system because also installing mini splits means refrigerant lines and extra HVAC technicians involved. And
Hmm.
earlier I'd shown off how we did this simple one here with pre-charged refrigerant lines with Mr. Cool. So
Hmm.
that's one solution is pre-charged refrigerant lines for a split system. Another solution is this package, no split system, just all wrapped in one. And that's because this HVAC concerned developer of houses is like, I need a solution that's packaged so that everyone will be happy with their own rooms. He's kind of a high-end guy.
Hmm.
So, yeah, ducted systems have a lack of comfort sometimes for lack of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. The quilt does do multiple zones. I think the
uh,
Mitsubishi doesn't. So if I had, I guess if I, I
they
installed,
do. If
yeah,
in your next world of having tons of money for perfection,
right.
you could put a heat pump that's outside like this Mitsubishi, and inside it could be Fujitsu, it could be a variety of manufacturers. Inside could be small ducted systems that were ducted to just two bedrooms, or just to or
Mm,
wall mounted like this to just one bedroom. But you could have multiple ducted zones with just like
mhm,
a room or a few rooms coming off of each smaller ducted system. They make them now. They used to be not versatile. They've become much more versatile where you have like big fan coils for like big ducted systems and modest sized ones and small ones. And
mhm.
if you had a whole bunch of money, because it's expensive to play with your HVAC system.
Yeah. Well, I think
The,
I do have that Mitsubishi system with an air handler for it's a pretty small house. It's just 1,000 square feet and there's one bedroom.
have you
Uh,
considered a high quality window heat pump?
Well, the problem is on that side of the house, I have some limited options for a complicated situation that I won't go into related to the property lines. But anyway, so right now I just kind of it's not bad. And if I bring I can take the thermostat off the wall and I can bring it into the bedroom and I can control it in the bedroom. So it's kind of like an app in that way. Uh,
Well, if you did, Friedrich makes like a window heat pump if you had a sash window, or if you're willing
mm,
to convert in some
mm,
way your slider window, which could just
right.
be as simple as buying online a plastic glass insert that's dimensioned exactly to what's
Mm,
above your slider
mm,
window
mm,
gap.
mm,
Anyway, this is one of them that they make. Friedrich essentially makes the
okay.
highest quality window heat pumps that have
Mm,
inverters in them and are
mm.
quiet. And you're gonna pay like this is $2,000.
Yeah, but that
Um,
might be less expensive than other options for me.
yeah, yeah, and this is at least it sits in the window. I'll show you. You're probably familiar with the gradient, but just in case, this is for everybody. So I helped gradient all weather. I helped write this standard that New York City and the state of New York wrote for.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the highest quality. Gree makes one as well, but this one has a
Mm,
better atomizer. In my opinion,
mm,
it has three different atomizer ports for getting rid of condensate. So you don't have to plumb condensate out of the heat pump, and you don't have to have a tank for
mm,
condensate. It just atomizes and blows it outside.
mm,
Great. So and it fits over the window sill of a
mhm,
dash type window, or once again, a slider window that you're willing to leave open and then put in an insert of some type
mm,
on top of this thing so that it completes the gap.
mhm,
So this is you'll see them in New York City, and you've seen some in like Sacramento. They're all over the place now. We've gotten
mm.
to install some up here
And
too.
they're 120 volts. That's a little easier to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I note they're all weather. They're designed for New York City
Mhm,
winter storms to keep that apartment warm in the brownstone.
mhm. And it just plugs into a plug at the inside window by the
Yeah,
end. Yeah. Whereas
exactly.
the other one you were showing, the Friedrich, is I think a 240.
It's true, and I apologize. I didn't quickly find a 120 volt example, and I'm
Mm,
not positive that there is a 120 volt inverter drive window
mm,
heat pump because there's air
mm,
conditioners, but a
mm,
heat pump that produces heat, that's where I found the Friedrich really quickly doing my online search in our conversation. But
mm,
this one I know is like -5 Fahrenheit designed for still producing, I think, 8,000 BTUs out of its 10,000 or something. It's a pretty stable, strong winter heat pump.
mhm.
And yeah, made in San Francisco.
No
So
shit. Hey,
And owned in San Francisco too. Ted, you've got one of these in your home, don't you? Not the prior version, I think.
Yeah, yes, I do. I have a gradient in my house and it works perfectly. And I think it also like this particular solution addresses one of the big things for Christina's house, because Christina's house contains like two different types of equipment. One, which are just plug-in, like the copper, and the other ones that really require smart contractors that are experienced and stand by their work. Christine mentioned like she got her heat pump, SFE paid for it, um, a $15,000 value. Anyone knows that, we're not going to be able to scale electrification with $15,000 projects. So it um, highlights that the plug-in solutions are, fabulous when we can make them work, and when we do need to go to the pros for the heat pumps, it's important we have building departments that can approve solutions when building department approval is needed and they need to know about them, and also contractors that are willing to stand by their work and do stuff like run electrical from one corner of the house to the opposite on a 3-story and run refrigerant lines back into the kitchen and take care of the roof. So it's a big deal. There's a lot for Christina to consider, and we're glad that we're able to help walk her through it with the right people.
Now, thank you, Ted. And I wish I could let that be the final comment, but I saw that I think Aaron, you wanted to ask a question or had a
yeah,
comment you wanted to add?
yeah. The gradient window heat pump. How much
Yeah,
do they run? What's the cost?
I think they're 3,500. Anyone want to speak otherwise? Because I think in bulk they get down to like 3,200. They gave me their pricing sheet, but someone else tell me I'm wrong.
Okay.
Please, Cooper?
We don't know where to get them just at regular retail. We've considered retailing them ourselves, but if anybody knows where you can just buy one, we're all curious. And if you want to buy 5, we can help you with that, but we don't know where to get one. Do you know, Sean?
I know how to get more than one. That's all
Yeah,
I know how
right.
to do.
If you want a truckload, no problem.
Hey, and since we're coming to the conclusion, I want Linda Kramer to get her word in here, which says, please spread the word about the Orange County Power Authority Renter Energy Efficiency Application, deadline April 5th, for the OCPA customers in Buena Park, Fullerton, or Irvine, because renters can get plug-in portable HVAC units and a portable battery system at no cost. So that's nice.
Yes. For no landlord approval. It's for renters, and we're excited to be rolling out this program.
Hey,
And
hey.
yeah, so if you know anyone in Irvine, Buena Park, or Fullerton, we're wanting to get the word out as much as possible. Well,
Well,
thank you for sharing that,
blessings.
Justin.
And it's on the screen, and I will make sure we send out the link to everybody. But the application is through April 5th, though. So you got to get on it now. They may extend it, but that's the time frame. And please share to any of your friends. You never know. They might be looking for something just like this.
So I think that it's good to raise the point here. Virginia Bernal. Now you're saying, hey, is the gradient heat pump that you showed a new model? Yes, it is. I bought one in 2023 that had multiple problems, even for SoCal. Mine looks a bit different. I bought the first 100 of them, like off the shelf, and installed them. And the first one I had, just like I installed the first 36 copper stoves. And yeah, in both cases, we gave a whole bunch of feedback on things like how they close around the window and condensate management and noise management. And because with 100 of them installed in all sorts of different people's homes and apartments, we got to hear a lot of different issues. Um, so I think it's fair to say that you were part of the bleeding edge. I thank you for your service. To the cause. Thank you, Virginia, for taking one for the team. And you
Yes.
could probably talk with them if you felt like it was fair for you to get maybe a new one. They might be yes, they might say it.
If I may add something about my
Please.
experience, they did replace the outside component once.
Uh-huh.
Problem solved. and then they replaced the inside component again. And then
Yes.
after that, still, I don't know whether maybe I didn't know how to handle the electronics of it, the app and that sort of thing, because I'm too old fashioned.
No. Well, it's so different now because in the old days they delivered you 3 boxes, right? That's what you got. Now they deliver 1 box.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is factory finished, not field finished. That makes a big difference in the quality of a product. If, when it leaves, they've already tested everything and have standardized how it gets put together. We were actually, it was funny, sad. We were paid to watch 30 people install them. So we had like 100 and then, so 130. Another 30 of them, we had a grant just to watch people struggle to install them so we could report back to an agency called Cal MTA as to whether or not the gradient was really ready for prime time if came in 3 pieces. And our reporting back was no. They should really make it one piece. So yeah, you have a first generation, not how they make them today product.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're better
But
now, I think.
now, one question for you then, how do I dispose of it? Because then, they will not repair it, they won't come out to repair it. And
Yes.
they stop service for that model. And so how
You
do
would
I?
dispose of it. It has a similar amount of refrigerant in it as a refrigerator or two,
Mhm.
and probably 2 refrigerators worth of refrigerant in it. So you dispose of it in the same way you would a refrigerator or another air conditioner for that matter, which is that the dump takes things with refrigerant in them special. There's usually, if you take it to a dump, here's the place for refrigerants, and you have to pay like $20 or $40 for whatever is the amount of refrigerant in it because they handle it then in a certified safe way.
Mhm.
So that's the right way. If you don't want to go to a dump, you can usually call your waste management company and ask for a pickup for a refrigerator or an air conditioner, things that have refrigerant in them. And they should have some way for you to do that because that's usually part of any waste management company's contract is to deal with some of the normal household grade hazardous waste. Refrigerant is what it is inside is basically gasoline. Just so you know, that's what refrigerant is. It's very similar in its viscosity and its boiling temperatures, things, but not the same, but similar to a mixture of oil or gasoline in there.
Well, I am a little bit of a fanatic in that I really wanted to buy an Echo 2, the one that uses carbon dioxide refrigerant.
Yes.
That's what I want to get, really.
Well, that's a water heater, though.
Well,
And
that's the only way. Yes, that's a water heater, but aren't they using carbon dioxide? If it can be used as a refrigerant, that would be the thing to use. We wouldn't have to worry about disposal.
well, the problem is that water heaters and CO2 work well together, in terms of uh, the very high pressure that it is needed for CO2. So far, we've only seen people make that cost effectively in water heaters that are fairly large because the Eco 2 that is designed for the 150-gallon sitting tubs of Japan, where first you take showers, which is a fairly high water demand, and then you take a gigantic sitting tub. And so that's what the Sanco 2 or Eco 2s are designed for. They're 15,000 BTU heat pumps. They're as big as what you might need for, well, they're 3 times or 4 times as big as what we have in America for our American small bathtub and showering. And the other place you find CO2 heat pumps being used is in the Autobahn. The very fastest gasoline cars are getting their air conditioners so hot that because I mentioned how they're gasoline inside of the air conditioners usually, or gasoline oil, they catch on fire on the German Autobahn. So they've replaced them with CO2 air conditioner heaters, and that's essentially the only place you find them. Side note that's interesting is that remember when Volkswagen got in a lot of trouble for manipulating their diesel emissions? That's why they had to set up an electrical EV charging stations all over the country and they had to pay a bunch of money.
I had one of those.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that criminal-ish behavior That lost them so much business, like 40% of their business, that Sanco, which was supplying the CO2 air conditioners to Volkswagen, Sanco, the CO2 heat pump water heater company that we have here in the US, Sanco all of a sudden lost so much business that they had to sell their asset. The United States now has Sanco 2 as an American-owned product because the Japanese company Sanco lost their shirts because of Volkswagen's diesel emissions scandal and their lack of sale of CO2 air conditioners for the Autobahn. And it's like, whoa, these things are interconnected, really? But yeah, I really wanted to buy a share of Sanco to get it here. I just didn't have any money, but oh, such a good idea when it was for sale.
Oh, man.
John Miles and a good partner got it. So there is this is the thing, as I agree, why aren't they using CO2? And the reason why is because it is a very expensive, difficult to control refrigerant, and it's just used usually in high cost applications. Kind of you can't do anything else, you'd use it. And I don't know, it's not that we couldn't.
Yeah. My
It's
my real yeah my interest again is in the zero emissions kind of thing, you know, carbon
yeah.
dioxide is the lowest possible greenhouse that you can
Well,
get as far as.
you know, Harvest, are you familiar with Harvest? Harvest Thermal? I'm sorry, is that
They're
a
great.
yes?
No, she's not. She
Oh,
has.
okay. Oh, well, then let's talk about Harvest Thermal. It's our good friends there, and I'm surprised, Cooper, you didn't jump in already. So shame on you. No, I'm joking. Okay, so Harvest Thermal is using the CO2 Sanco, right? This is my good friends Pierre and Janet, or Jane, pardon me. Not a good enough friend to get Jane, pardon. Okay, so but Pierre, who used to be the technical leader at the NRDC, the two of them started this company. And why can't I see just the product itself? Okay,
I think it's a,
this is my staff person, Alistair. He has one
yeah,
at his house. Let's see,
it's at the top, I think.
read case study. Does he have a picture? Okay, so he's in front of the outside component. There's two of them there. Note that. That means each of these 15,400 BTU compressors combined being about 30,000 or 2.5 tons. That's plenty enough for his house, 2.5 tons. And it heats both his domestic hot water for showers and the sinks, and he's got a whole bunch of extra storage tanks, so he has enough hot water there to heat his whole house. And you can have a fan coil, which is like for blowing air through ductwork, or you could have one that is in his floor if he was doing radiant heating. And there's various, ways he could use that hot water basically to then heat the house. But he's got one of them. Yeah, I just chatted with him this morning. He loves talking about it. He loves
Yeah.
the system.
And wasn't he on our show a while back, or that we
I
featured this on one
forget.
of our shows? Yeah.
Now that I am honored to call him a friend, I've forgotten. We had him
We
on
do
our
a
show.
lot. We do a lot in a day. But Virginia, I'll send you that show too if you're interested. And you can have your system picked up. You're allowed 4 times a year. So I don't know if you have Republic in Santa Ana or who
Yes.
is the
Yes.
waste hauler. So Republic will be able to do that. And I put the number in the chat and everything. You should
Aw,
get it
thank
picked up.
you.
Thank you. That's good. Thank
And
you.
we're
So,
happy to help you with this as you look at your next step, Virginia. We can meet with you one-on-one.
in Virginia, so Harvest Thermal, if you're dedicated to having a low nose CO2 system, they don't do air conditioning, right? So if you were to try to do air conditioning, that product doesn't exist. I mean, no, the product doesn't exist. I'm not saying that the heat pumps themselves, like I have a whole catalog of CO2 heat pumps of different sizes and types, because this question has troubled me as well, just so you know. But I'm just saying that on the market, Harvest Thermal is making is a product that both heats your house and heats your water with
But it
CO2.
doesn't, but you say that it heats with a water system,
Yes.
which would not work in my house.
Well, how does your house get heated right now?
Right now, I'm not heating it. I'm just using coats and jackets. I have not
Okay.
used my furnace for 2 years.
Well, now that's great. Passive solar heating, good for you, and a little bit of self-warming. Better. I mean, I understand. One of my staff, I've bought her battery-powered electric resistance, like heated vests, and my one of my previous girlfriends, I got her boots. She
Yeah.
loved that. Um, so there's a variety of ways you can heat yourself additionally, and just heat yourself. And so it's a very cost-effective way to heat yourself is to wear a battery-powered vest and maybe a battery-powered uh, neck warmer,
Temperatures are
all those
Yeah.
things. Those exist on Amazon for 30 bucks, 50 bucks, that kind of thing. They're very, very energy efficient compared to running even a heat pump, which is, not as energy efficient. But other than that, what is the old way? You had a gas furnace that blew air?
I did. Uh-huh.
Okay, so this product works with that. And what they would do is right now your gas furnace has gas, which is the thing that's kind of holding the heat, so to speak. It's the energy carrying device. Gas runs to your furnace, it burns there, and then all the pollution goes up. Well, what they would do is they would put their fan outside, their fan coil box, which I'm gonna show the sand code to heat pumps so we can just talk about these things a little bit easier. Okay, so come on, there we go. So the outside component here, one or two of them, that's going to run hot water to where you have your fan coil box right now. You have a furnace which includes within it a fan. And you would put essentially the same device there and it would have hot water run more or less where your gas runs now. And you run hot water to where that fan coil is. You'd have a new fan coil, but it'd be in the same spot, probably. And it would do the same work, blowing hot air through your house. So that's if you wanted to use this and you had, 15 to 30 grand to drop, go for the 15 grand. But that's one approach to it. And that would work. That's Harvest Thermal does that. That's the heat houses that have, blown air systems.
Okay, I imagine it to be like pipes running under the floor, heating the house, but no, this actually heats the air that you're going to pump to your house.
Yes, exactly. It's designed for that. And also is going to show you like battery vest for women. Okay, so here are the kind of things for 60, 70 bucks. And they keep you really warm. I bought one for the cashiers at the co-op. I felt so sorry for them because they're all freezing next to the door in the wintertime, the cashiers. I happen to be dating a cashier, so wonderful human being. So here we have the solution is that you can keep yourself and your core warm with so many of these products. So many from so many different manufacturers. Give it to yourself as an early Christmas gift or something because it's 60 bucks or 100 bucks, not 15,000 or $20,000,
Perfect. I'll have to investigate that for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you seem like a frugal person, so this is a cheap way to go.
They're great.
Um,
And they
yeah.
were on our holiday show, which I put the link in the chat as well.
Yeah, that's right. We did a whole
So
holiday show
with all
of like all the different ways you could give stocking stuffers, literally, battery heated boots. Some people look at so many ways you can have warm feet if you're one of those people with like poor circulation to your feet. For 20 bucks, 40 bucks, 60 bucks, pay for what you get, 100 bucks. A gazillion of them. Walkable shoes with little battery pockets on the side, so you can go out in the snow when you're up in Tahoe. Let's see. Plug-in solar. Oh my God.
yeah, Virginia wants to know about the other Virginia from Virginia. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
I'm
not
so
Virginia,
sorry. I've
but
been gabbing away on other favorite topics. Hold on for a second here. So,
I know Quick Carbon works with who we had Bright Saber Solar. I mean Bright
yeah, I mean,
on
Cooper,
our
you could
show.
tell us. But basically, this is something it's already legal in Europe. It had to be legalized. Laws had to be passed. Legal standards for things we plugged in had to be passed. It is somewhat questionable because we lack a UL standard exactly for this, whether or not there's really any legal balcony solar available in the United States because we lack a standard ground fault interrupted circuit outlet. That's the basic point of this blog. We interviewed everybody. Lots of people already are using them.
That's
Lots of
me.
it. Cooper, tell us about your solar array.
Oh, it's just such a treat to pop open the app and see it putting power back into the house and into my neighbors' homes, I think. This isn't being recorded, is it? No.
No.
And
So yours
kidding.
does backflow into the grid. You have a
No, I don't think so, actually. No. I have some panels and some batteries from Bright Saver, and it was just such a thrill to bring them home and plug them in and have them do their thing. I have solar before. So actually, it does backflow to the grid because my home solar backflows to the grid. But the way it's set up to charge the batteries during the day and discharge them into my house at night when we're using a bunch of power and power is expensive, I didn't have that before. I didn't have batteries. I had solar from over a decade ago. And I got it overnight by plugging it in. And that freedom to just go and take care of your energy future was really liberating, inspiring. I hope many of you get a chance to plug something in and for the first time have the electricity go the other way. It's remarkable.
So I put a blog in there. It's fresh, hot off the press. It's peer reviewed. It's, it has a lot of technical details. It's a nice little blog in the chat. So what's a Bright Saver, right?
Yep.
Is that the name? So Bright Saver Solar. Not green wired. Here we go.
And
It's
they
a
do,
nonprofit.
Brightsaver has products on their website that you can purchase as well.
So here's the website. Let's explore this for those that are interested.
But there are some limitations, but they are
Okay,
trying to make it more ubiquitous.
2 backyard plug-in solar options for California homeowners. Okay, ships to anywhere in California. The NEM Go. I'll stop. Compact panels that are easier to place.
So these two approaches here, the real difference is just how the panels get moved. That's it. The one on the right, you need a vehicle. The one on the left, they got brought to you. Other than that, they're more or less the same. And if you ever transported, no, you haven't yet transported solar panels. If you ever try to, they're bigger than they seem. I learned that the hard way. So maybe you want to get them shipped to you. As you'll see, the battery system is not listed on their website currently. It will probably come back someday.
Okay, that's good.
So,
go ahead, Sean.
Well, this sounds like without a battery, that means that they are either exporting to the grid without an interconnection agreement, or it looks like if you call your traditional installer to add more panels, expansion kits, no changes to your NEM agreement. I'm curious if they discharge into the grid or if they curtail the solar, if they turn off the solar so that it doesn't go into the grid. That's how one company was advertising itself.
Yeah.
So, but here you have it. This is one of your options. It's legit. You can get it.
It's legit.
It'll show up at your house.
Sure does.
And Quick Carbon can help you from what they say.
Indeed. Yeah. This is one of the easiest ones, though, putting these things up or on. So let's see, here's my, whoops, it's gone. There it is. There's my little app telling me that my batteries are putting some power into the home, and during the day, it would be flowing the other way, the sun into the batteries. So yeah. It's a fun thing to try, especially if you're an enthusiast in this space. And I think everybody still on this call counts as an enthusiast now.
I know, you guys are hanging in there.
Love it. So, are there any other questions? Since we are about half an hour past our, when we sort of want to leave off.
Yeah, we want to make sure
I'm cool. I don't have the kids tonight. I'm here as we're all do-gooders. This is just our fun time together, right? And how many people, Tristan, did we have at the start?
We had upwards. I mean, people were coming on and off, but I counted about 45, and we had about 82 people RSVP. So that was really great, and we'll make sure all the PowerPoints and video get to you. I know, Aaron, you have a question, but maybe for a future show, When I was trying to do my heat pump, they kept going, do dual fuel.
Oh
Dual.
my
Like I was
God.
like, why are you telling me this?
It's always
I
the oil
really asked them
companies.
for asked them point
It's
blank, why are you as a contractor, telling me about that? I don't
they get
want that.
advertised to, heavily advertised to by the oil companies who are just so running scared from heat pumps right now that they're like, anyway. So that's the answer, Tristan.
Yeah.
Peter and then Aaron.
Oh, I think Aaron, you go first.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Aaron?
thanks. So, if we are adding balcony solar just up to 10% of our current solar, I'm told that you can go 10% above your current solar without disrupting any of your arrangements with the utility. That they allow that, even if it's exporting to the grid, right? Is that correct?
Does anyone else know the answer to this? My understanding is that you can add a
Yeah,
little bit of extra solar, but I don't know
that's
how
what I
much.
understand. I understand.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's what we're.
understand that I brought it home and plugged it in and it works. And there's
Yeah.
something pretty liberating about it just working. So
Mhm.
probably there's more complexity to it than that.
Yeah, my installer when I got my solar panels about a year and a half ago, and that's actually what I was going to talk about next was my solar installation. If you want to just hear one quick thing
Sure.
that was interesting about it, but yeah, they did say that as part of that NEM 2 agreement, that the contract, that there's some wiggle room there and how much you can add or subtract without having to go through the whole contractual process again. But it might be 5 or 10%, something in that range. So yeah, my situation was a little more complicated, it turns out, because I got my first PV system in around 2004. So I was in NEM 1 and it was expiring that 20-year agreement right around the time that I was signing up for the new system. That April 15th deadline was at 2023.
Right.
And so I submitted that contract, that documentation to PG&E in time. I got in under the deadline, and then I think it was about 6 months after that, and I didn't do it right away. I know I had like 3 years to install the new system, so I was waiting to redo my roof and then do the installation. Um, in that period, I think I got a letter from PG&E that said something about like, oh, your agreement, and I didn't really understand it exactly what they were asking me or telling me, but they were basically, I think, telling me that that first NEM 1 was expiring, and what did I want to do? My panels actually weren't even working at that point because my
Right.
inverter that I still had, after 20 years was no longer really working. It was a Sunny Boy and it had started to
Yeah.
have problems. So my system was kind of turned off actually. But so I think what happened was they just switched me over to one of the standard solar home. It wasn't one of the NEM ones, it was one of the other ones. And then when I went to install the new system, they said I wasn't eligible for NEM 2 because I had not deactivated my old system before the April 15th deadline, and that I had been put onto one of those newer rates. And once you're on that new rate, which is basically, I guess NEM 3, right? One of those kind of
Yeah.
systems, you can't
Yeah.
go back to NEM 2. Well, it took about a year for them to think about this whole thing because I think there's a few of us out there that had these old systems and they didn't really maybe think it didn't, as far as my installer was aware, there was nothing in that documentation that said you had to do any of this before that April 15th deadline. So I think,
They're so hostile to solar customers. They're constantly yanking our chains,
yeah,
constantly
well,
changing the
luckily, so it
rules.
has a happy ending, which is that they came around and they eventually figured out, like, okay, maybe I, had done something wrong, but it wasn't clearly spelled out in the contract. So I ended up getting like a big check for about a couple $1,000s because the system had been turned on and I was under that NEM 3 rate for about a year, year and a half. And then they finally did the back calculations and put me onto NEM 2 and sent me a check for a couple $1,000s. And now I'm on NEM 2. So, but for a while, I was really not sure
Wow.
what was going to
I
happen.
think the takeaway there is the squeaky wheel, and also that this is not the first time I've heard of PG&E making or a utility in general making a sort of incorrect decision at first and getting pushed on it and changing their mind. And here in our messy electric transition, that's going to keep happening. So keep pushing,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I did that much, but I did call them and ask them about it a couple times, and then it went through the whole management chain to get the approval. So it did take a while, but I was happy
You're
with it.
definitely not the only solar customer that was harassing them.
Yeah.
Well, with that, 7 o'clock, I'm gonna pause
I
here
think
and go make dinner on my induction countertop, 2 burner stove here.
lovely.
And
I'll be right over.
lots of love to y'all. Thank you so much,
Thank
Christina.
you all for being
Yeah. Thank you,
here. It
everybody.
was a great meeting. And please look at the links and
Great
show
meeting.
your support for plug-in solar. It's going through California. And also look into the possible solar tax because property owners need to be aware of that. That is going through your legislation right now. And also look into community choice energy. It's really important. That is something, it's a not-for-profit that is procuring renewable energy in your community. And often, if you're a solar owner, you will get more back than your regular investor-owned utility. So check that out. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We are here for all your energy questions, and we're amped up to help you anytime.
Thank you,
you.
Tristan. You're amazing. You work so hard. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Thank you,
love it.
everybody.
We're really happy to still be here after we're going in our 4th year. So we're excited to volunteer and help out because that's how things move forward. And we're so glad that Quick Carbon joined us tonight. Thank you so much for that. And Christina, you are awesome. You are my hero.
Thank
I can't wait to
you.
come up and cook on your Copper Range.
Any coverage,
Yes.
anytime.
And thank you,
Thank you
Cooper,
all
for
so
coming
much.
too. We love having you, and we'll see you guys
My
at the
pleasure.
next show. Thank you, Wayne.
Bye
Good night,
all.
everybody.
Bye.